In this tutorial, we'll talk about how to pause an animation and then continue the same animation using different sets of keyframes. Let's say, for example, we want this recycle icon to rotate and then wait there for a second and then to rotate back. Let's go and create a simple animation first. So I'm going to go select the layer and perhaps we can make this a little bit bigger first. So I'm going to press S to open up scale. I'm just going to click and drag this towards right, around about there. And as we do this, you'll see that we might be losing some detail around the edges. So to avoid that, you'll click on this button here to continuously rasterize this. You see that we'll go back to being sharp again. Let me zoom in so you can see the detail here. So this is without the button and this is with the button. So we can see it goes from soft to sharp. Let me now zoom back out, Shift /, and then I'm going to open up the rotation by pressing R on the keyboard. And again, we're going to follow the same 5 steps as we did before. So let's say I would like the animation to start on the 10th frame. So I'm going to press Shift and page down to go forward by 10 frames. And then I want the rotation to be set to 0 at this point. So that was the second step. I'm going to keyframe the rotation, the third step. And I'll go forward, let's say by 20 frames now. So Shift page down twice. And then I'll set the rotation to be 180. So I'm just going to go here and type in 180. If you play this now, this is the animation we have. So it just rotates by 180. And let's say we want this to wait there until the 3rd second and then rotate back to how it was initially. Well, what wouldn't work would be to go here to the 3rd second mark and then simply set a keyframe back to 0. This won't work now because what's going to happen now is it's going to try and go from 0 at this point to 180 and then directly from 180 back to 0 without actually waiting anywhere. So in order to create a pause on the animation, you need to have 2 more keyframes, not just 1. So let's press Command Z to undo that last keyframe. And let's say at this point on the 3rd second mark, I need 1 more keyframe that needs to be exactly the same as this keyframe. So nothing basically happens between this keyframe and the new one I'll be creating. And to do that, you have 2 options. You can either literally copy and paste this keyframe. So I can select this keyframe, then press Command C and then Command V that copied and pasted the keyframe. Or let me press Command Z here to get rid of it first. I can go all the way to the left-hand side and click on this button here, the keyframe button, and that's going to add a keyframe just under my playhead with the current value, which in this case was 180. I can then go forward and then change the value again, let's say back to 0. And that's how you create a pause on the animation. So if I go back, you see nothing happens for 10 frames, then it animates and waits, and then it animates back. And nothing happens again after that. Another really easy way of doing this is as follows. If I go and select these 2 keyframes and then delete them, what I can do would be to select the 2 keyframes I created initially, copy them both, and let's say we go to 3 seconds again, and then paste them. So Command C, then Command V. What's going to happen now is that this keyframe is exactly the same as this keyframe, and then this keyframe is exactly the same as this keyframe. So that's not good for what we want. In this case, in order to create a pause, what we need to have is this keyframe here, the last one, to be swapped with the 3rd one. And to do that, you can select the 2 keyframes you want to swap, and then go and right click on one of those keyframes, doesn't matter which one, and then you go right down to the bottom where it says Keyframe Assistant, and then we choose Time Reverse Keyframes. What this is going to do is it's going to swap the 2 keyframes around. So the 3rd one now is exactly the same as the 2nd one, and the 1st one is exactly the same as the last one. So if I go and play this now, you'll get exactly the same result. And we can do the same thing for opacity as well. So let's press Shift T to open up opacity as well. And I'm going to press J a couple of times until I go back to the first keyframe here. I'll keyframe opacity. So this is the first step, go to time. I then want the opacity to be set to 0 at this point. And then I'll keyframe opacity. And I'll press K to jump to the following keyframe. And then I'll set the opacity to 100%. That creates the second keyframe for us. And all I have to do now would be to select them, copy them, and then press K again and paste, and then time reverse these as well. So right click on one of these and then go to Keyframe Assistant and choose Time Reverse Keyframes. And what's going to happen now is that the layer is going to start fading in at the same time as it starts rotating, and then it will wait there completely visible, and then as it rotates back, it will fade back out. So if I play it now, here's what it looks like. And this is how you pause an animation in After Effects.